Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, August 27th. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, millions of people watched the on-air killings of a Virginia news crew yesterday morning. 24-year-old Allison Parker and 27-year-old photojournalist Adam Ward were conducting an interview near Smith Mountain Lake when they were shot and killed. The man allegedly responsible, 41-year-old Vester Lee Flanagan, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound several hours later. He posted a video of the massacre to his social media accounts. Police say he was a resentful former employee of the Roanoke TV station WBDBJ, where Parker and Ward worked.
Well, we are learning more about the alleged shooter, Vester Flanagan. He was a former reporter, as we said, who went by the on-air name of Bryce Williams. He was fired from WDBJ 2 years ago. The general manager describes him as unhappy and angry with a reputation of being difficult to work with. Rochelle Metzger is standing by with a mental health expert who has been following this story.
There are so many elements to this story that really put an exclamation point on how disturbing it really is. The fact that this all played out on live television, the fact it was uploaded onto social media, and the fact that this case was really about a disgruntled former employee who was seeking revenge against a former employer. Here with me to talk more about this is Jan Desper-Peters from the Black Mental Health Alliance in Baltimore. Thanks so much for joining us today. What do companies need to do about helping employees that they suspect may have mental health issues?
Well, I think that you probably may agree that different companies have different cultures. So you have companies that are, maybe cutthroat, so to speak, and so they may not offer assistance or help when they are terminating someone. Then you have companies like a nonprofit organization that may be more caring and more nurturing. And so when the opportunity or the event comes around where someone may be terminated, you may have them provide mental health therapists or services or that kind of thing for their employees.
When you're talking about signs to look for, what bosses or coworkers should look for to see if they notice that one of their colleagues is struggling or seems to be having problems, what do they need to look for?
I think that, first of all, there usually is a trigger. So when I say trigger, I mean there's a death in the family, there is a breakup of a relationship, something that is triggering a different attitude, a different demeanor in a person. So some of the things we need to look for is just the way the person's talking, their conversation. What are they talking about that's different? Are they looking different? Are they unkept? Do they usually come to work, well groomed, and now you notice that they're not as concerned about those things. You may even see that they have something on their possession that looks like they shouldn't have it in the workplace. And a lot of times people say, I'm not going to say anything, I'm going to stay in my lane, I'm going to mind my business. But that really goes back to, if you see something, you need to say something.
Once they say something and an employee does seek help, or say they refuse to seek help, what can people do then to make sure that the place, the environment they're working in stays safe?
Well, I believe that the environment, the employer, if they feel that there is a safety issue, they have a responsibility to make sure that there is security in place to ensure that the other employees feel safe. When people are offered assistance and they won't take it, as an employer, there's not really much you can do if you've terminated the individual. If you're going to maintain employment with the individual, then you can kind of mandate that they see someone and that they get a clear bill of health, so to speak, before they can return back to the work environment. But we really need to take on that responsibility as employers to at least offer assistance. So this would be a great opportunity to reach out to organizations like the Black Mental Health Alliance to identify a mental health therapist that can come in and kind of vet what's going on in that environment and talk to people one-on-one or in groups.
All right, well, thank you so much. Jan Desper-Peters, Executive Director of the Black Mental Health Alliance based in Baltimore. We're going to send it back to you all in the studio.
And Desper-Peters also says when terminating someone, employers need to be sensitive to the person being fired, as well as have safeguards in place to protect other workers.
And about a dozen people rallied in Annapolis today against President's proposed nuclear deal with Iran. They waved signs and voiced their concerns in front of Senator Barbara Mikulski's district office. Protesters want her and other lawmakers to vote against the measure and are encouraging people to sign a petition opposing it as well.
It's a bad deal for America because it sends billions of dollars of money to a rogue religious zealot regime that is murdering not only gays and lesbians and homosexuals, but they are imprisoning 4 Americans. And we have a philosophy in this country that we don't believe that we should leave any American behind. And I cannot support sending billions of dollars to a regime that wants to destroy America.
We're really just encouraging Senator Mikulski to say no on this Iran nuclear deal. It doesn't make sense for our country, certainly doesn't make sense for Israel. It's going to destabilize the region. This is not a good deal for America. We got nothing out of this deal. On my sign it says trust but verify. You know, there's no verification in the way this treaty is written. It's just bad for our country.
Senator Mikulski issued a statement saying the deal is an important step in preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Today's rally was organized by the Tea Party Patriots, which had held similar protests across the country.
An independent political organization is heading to Annapolis tonight to protest Governor Larry Hogan's support of Governor Christie. Now, Maryland's Working Families is getting together with the New Jersey chapter. It plans to highlight some of Christie's policies regarding tax on public sector employees, the environment, and education. Members say the measures put New Jersey in the tank and could do the same to Maryland.
Public education with, slashing public education budgets, particularly targeting communities of color and urban school districts. We don't want to see that here. We've made huge gains in education and in closing the achievement gap over the last 12 years here in Maryland, and we don't want to roll backwards. Christie's gone after with a vengeance the benefits of public sector workers who've retired. We already saw last year Governor Hogan go after public sector employees to really try to go after their retirement and health benefits. We've already seen with this governor, our Governor Hogan, go after regulations that, after years of making progress and cleaning up the Bay, he wants to roll those regulations back. It's very similar to what New Jersey's done.
The group will be holding a press conference outside of the Lowe's Annapolis Hotel before a fundraiser for Christie that's hosted by Larry Hogan.
The head of Dimensions Healthcare says he will gladly take part in community talks having to do with the closing of Laurel Hospital. This after strong criticism from Laurel Mayor Craig Moe about how Dimensions handled the process to shut down the hospital. In a letter, Moe says there was a lack of transparency. Dimensions President John Spearman also responded in the letter saying that small healthcare facilities face many challenges balancing economic pressures on the need to offer care. The hospital will be turned into an ambulatory care center.
Prince George's police arrest a Riverdale man in the death of his girlfriend's 1-year-old son. 28-year-old Osman Cisse has been charged with first-degree murder and first-degree child abuse in the homicide of Ahmed Jalla. Now, the boy was in Cisse's care after the mother went to work on August 1st. At about 10:30 a.m., police officers were called to the home where they found Ahmed unresponsive. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Officials say the cause of death was blunt force trauma. Cisse is in jail on a no-bond status. Well, police need your help identifying 2 men in connection with 2 different robberies. This man is a person of interest in the July 14th robbery of a drugstore in the 6400 block of Landover Road. In that incident, the suspect pulled out a gun and demanded money from an employee, then ran away after receiving the cash. Authorities are also looking for this man in connection with an armed robbery that occurred at a restaurant in the 8500 block of Oxon Hill Road on August 16th. If you recognize either of the men in these pictures, call police at 301-772-4905. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott.